these rag to riches people never gave up on what they wanted to do. They had a vision, they saw it, they didn't let their circumstances deter them from their vision. They didn't let it stop them. Sure, it knocked them down at some points and they wanted to give up.
Welcome to the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community. Tune in every Tuesday, and don't forget to subscribe. And now your host, Nicolas Comstock.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to this brand new episode of the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disability community. I'm your host, Nicolas Comstock. You guys, I am so glad that you are here with me today on this Tuesday, whether you're starting your morning with me at 7 a.m. or whether you're ending your day with me or whether you're on your way to or from work. I appreciate you being here with me. You know, I opened up this podcast saying this is the Nick Speaks podcast. The podcast where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community. If you've noticed, if you've been listening for almost since the start of the podcast, I usually say this is the Nick Speaks podcast dedicated to the disabled community, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community about the issues that matter to the disabled the most. I did not say that in this opening, I did not say that this podcast is dedicated to the disabled community. That's because if you've been listening for the last couple of weeks, you know that I've done a shift in my belief as far as my healing. And you also know that I am just tired of looking in the mirror and I'm tired of having a disability, much less dealing with disability life. Even though this podcast is for the disability community, I've said for years that I'm so much more than someone with a disability community, someone with a disability community, someone with a disability. I've said for years, I'm someone so much more than a disability. But I really haven't been able to show you guys that or talk about anything else besides disability. And so, even though this is a podcast for the disabled community, and I will always speak up about issues that are facing not only me, but others in the disabled community, I want to shift a little bit. Probably a whole lot, to be honest. I want to shift and I want to bring some things into the program that really have nothing to do with disability. And I want to get you guys to get to know me outside of Nicolas Comstock, the disabled creator, Nicolas Comstock, the disabled guy on TikTok. I want to get you guys to know me outside of that. And so today we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics, and that is celebrity and pop culture. And I'm going to talk about two of my favorite celebrities today. And if you know me well at all, you're going to know who one of them is right off the bat. And I want to talk about my entrepreneurial aspirations and what I plan to do, and how these two celebrities have inspired me to do what I'm doing now. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And who knows, we may talk a little bit about anything and everything. But today is the first podcast episode where we don't really talk about disability as much. Maybe I'll sprinkle in throughout, But today and from today on, I'm opening the program to other topics that don't have anything to do with disability. But just realize disability will always be somewhat a part of the podcast. But today we begin a new chapter. So I hope you'll continue to stay with me and support that. Okay, what I want to talk about today, I said two of my favorite celebrities, and two of my favorite celebrities are Oprah Winfrey and Judge Judy Steinlin. And I said if you know me well at all, you were going to know who one of the celebrities was. And for those of you who know me personally, you know I'm a huge Judge Judy fan. I follow Judge Judy and other court shows like most people follow sports. So you can ask me anything about Judge Judy, from her salary to her media ventures to anything you want to know, to her time back in the Supreme Court. I mean, I've done a not the Supreme Court. Oh God, I need to correct that. She's never been a part of the Supreme Court, although there were some young people polled several years ago and they thought that she was a part of the Supreme Court. She's never been a part of the Supreme Court. So I want to make that clear. And she has no interest in being a part of the Supreme Court because she likes it where she rules and reigns, and she's the person that has the final say. On the Supreme Court, that's not true. There are nine people who have opinions, and a majority rules at the Supreme Court, as you know. So, in many ways, it's a 6-3 decision or a 5-4 decision. And very rarely do you see all nine Supreme Court justices sign off on a ruling. I think it's happened before recently, but it is a very rare occurrence. Anyway, so I just want to clear that up because I said I did some deep dive on Judge Judy in the Supreme Court. She's never been on the Supreme Court, nor does she want to be, from the research I've done. But I did do some deep digging. I have done some deep digging when she was a part of the New York Family Court for 25 years. And she later became the supervising family court judge in Manhattan before she went on in 1996 to become what we know her as today, Judge Judy. Now, I will tell you, we're going to get back and talk about Judge Judy a lot today. So we're going to leave her there for now. But I want to talk about Oprah Winfrey, and I want to tell you why she's been such an inspiration to me. Oprah Winfrey is a self made billionaire. I did some research before coming on this morning's podcast, and she is currently worth $2.3 billion according to Forbes. And that is of this year, $2.3 billion. She started Harpo Productions, I believe, in the early 80s, maybe late 80s, and she has just been going ever since. She started out as a news girl, and she was a news girl in Baltimore, then did a local television show in Baltimore, then did AM Chicago, and then, as we know it, she did the Oprah Winfrey Show for 25 years and then launched into her own cable network, which is the Oprah Winfrey Network, that has been on since 2011, which I am going to talk a little bit about that today because it's been a little bit disappointing with the OWN network. I thought it was going to be more of a success than what it has been. And I believe Oprah feels the same way. She thought it was going to be more of a success. In fact, she talks about in earlier interviews um, that she knew that she shouldn't have launched the OWN network when she did, but she couldn't do anything about it because all the promotion had been done. It had been said that this is what she was going to do after the show, after the Oprah show went off the air. And so has said that if she had to go back and do it over, she probably wouldn't have done the Oprah Winfrey Network. Um, or maybe she wouldn't have launched it as early as she did. I don't know. I think she said a little bit of both. But I want to tell you why she is such an inspiration to me. Oprah is such an inspiration because she literally came from nothing. Nothing. She grew up in Mississippi part time. I believe that's where she ended up going because her father, she didn't like the strict rules of her father. So she moved to Mississippi and then spent some time in Milwaukee, if memory serves me correctly. And I remember her saying in a Barbara Walters interview, when she was preparing for her 25th season of the Oprah show or preparing to end it, she was doing all the big interviews because she was preparing to end the Oprah show. And in a Barbara Walters interview that she did, she said that she grew up for a little bit of time with no running water. And so and the fact that she was abused from the age of 9 on, and she still managed to become this powerhouse that we know today, whether you disagree with her or whether you're Oprah's biggest fan. Um, I just think it's amazing that she came from literally nothing. Her grandmother and her mother thought that she was going to be a maid like they were. And Oprah talks about how she knew she wasn't going to be that. She knew that she had a greater calling and was going to have a greater life, and she wasn't going to struggle like her family struggled. And I see kind of myself in that because I have said, I'm not going to struggle like I've watched my family struggle. Yes, I've dealt with the disability that I have for years, but I'm not going to let that define my success. I'm not going to let that deter my success. And the reason why Oprah is one of the people that I most admire when it comes to this is because it shows me that you don't have to have disability put on you to have a hard life. And you don't have to have a disability to prove everybody wrong and become a success. I'm sure there are many people that thought Oprah was never going to be something. In fact, all Oprah wanted to be really was a teacher. She wanted to be a teacher, and because I she said I believe it was her second or fourth grade teacher. Maybe it was a fourth grade teacher. Mrs. Duncan was a real inspiration to Oprah, and she wanted to be like Mrs. Duncan. I think she was either in second or fourth grade when she had Mrs. Duncan, and she wanted to be a teacher, and she's taught a lot of people uh different things, and she has said the world has been her classroom. Um and I just really admire that about her. And I aspire to have a media empire like she has. Maybe not as much, like $2.3 billion. Maybe give me a couple 100 million, I'll be all right. I don't know what somebody does with $2.3 billion. Now, believe you me, I would love to have the task of finding out what I would do with $2.3 billion. So I'm not gonna shy away from trying to reach that mark. But if I only get a couple 100 million or maybe even 20 million a year, I think I'll be pretty set. Um, and so, yeah, I love the whole rags to riches story that Oprah has. And I know I said I was only going to talk about two celebrities today, but it's my show, so I can talk about what I want because it's Nick's Speaks. It's Nick Speaks, not Nick's. It's Nick Speaks. So Nick can speak on whatever Nick wants to speak about. I want to also mention Tyler Perry. He's also just a huge, just has such a huge impact on me. His story, he was literally beaten by his father and sexually abused and just awfully treated, had an awful childhood. And he pulled himself up from that in many circumstances, living out of his car in his early 30s and being rejected several times for his plays. And I think he said at one point only 30 people showed up to see one of his plays, one of his first plays. And just to see that Tyler Perry, Oprah, all these rag to riches people never gave up on what they wanted to do. They had a vision, they saw it, they didn't let their circumstances deter them from their vision. They didn't let it stop them. Sure, it knocked them down at some points and they wanted to give up, but something inside them, and I believe Oprah has referenced the breath of God at her back. And you can say, well, she's denied God and she's not a real believer in Christ. I'm not here to debate that today. I'm just here to highlight the incredible rags to riches story of people like Oprah Winfrey and Tyler Perry. I'm not here to debate their religious beliefs or lack thereof. I'm not here to debate any of that. Oprah has said she's had the breath of God at her back for the last several years. And you know what? I do believe that because only God can help somebody accomplish what she has accomplished. And yes, Oprah has worked her butt off. So kudos to her, too. Same thing with Tyler Perry. I mean, these are people that I look up to as far as, you know what? They didn't have a disability, but they still had a hard life. And they didn't let their hard lives determine their success. They pulled themselves up by their bootstraps and turned their story from a story of tragedy and awful darkness to a story of triumph and lights for different people at different times in the world. And for many people, I know Oprah and Tyler are mentors from afar. They're mentors to people. And the reason why I put Judge Judy in this mix is because Judge Judy, she started out in the family court. She was well, no, she started as a prosecutor in the family court. And then she was appointed to the bench in 1982 by New York City Mayor Ed Koch. Um, and she sat on the bench, I believe, for 15 years. And then altogether, she was in the I keep saying Supreme Court. She was never in the Supreme Court. I don't know why I keep saying that. Altogether, she was on the bench for 15. And then I think she She started out in the she started out as a prosecutor in the New York family court, and then she moved up to a judge. Altogether, she was in that family court system for New York for 25 years. So, and what surprises me about Judge Judy is that she started in television at the age of 52. And, everybody says, you get to a certain age, oh, I'm too old to start a new business now. I'm too old to start a new chapter. I'm just gonna go sit in the rocking chair, eat my soup, and watch old episodes of Matlock. And listen, if you like doing that and you're in your 60s and your 70s and you say, I've given all I can, I don't want to do anymore, you know, and that fulfills you, great. But if you're sitting there saying, I'm just too old, I can't do this anymore, I can't do a new chapter, look at Judge Judy. She's in her early 80s now, 83 years old, Judge Judy is. And she has a net worth of $480 million. When she was running her original court show, Judge Judy, which was produced by CBS for 25 years, when she was running that, by the end of that court show, I believe the last 10 years of that court show, she was making $47 million per year. And then she moved over to Amazon and started on their free ad streaming service, which no longer exists, but it was called Freebie. She moved over there in 2021. And what I love about Judge Judy is she's a take no crap type of woman. She, uh, basically, the way that she has negotiated her contract for the last several years is handed the people that sign her an envelope and said, let's have dinner, read it tomorrow, open it tomorrow, don't open it now. And if you don't like it, we'll talk about it the next day. But the way Judge Judy put it is, one year they went to have dinner at their usual spot, her and the executives at CBS. And one of the executives at CBS said, Judy, I bought my own envelope. And she said, that's nice, but I won't be needing it because then this becomes a negotiation. And the guy looks at her and said, well, Judy, what if it's more money? And Judy said, I'm willing to take that risk, in so many words. And they gave her what she wanted up until 2021. And then the new regime at CBS said, no, thank you. And she went on and said, screw you, in so many words. And I believe she called it in a magazine article and several different articles when she ended her show, that it was going to be Bill and Melinda Gates' divorce between her and CBS. And so I guess now they've had that, and she's over at Amazon doing her thing. And I want to look at Judge Judy's library because it's not just Judge Judy anymore. So she's got 25 years of Judge Judy under her belt. Back in 2014, she got a creative idea on a trip to Ireland with her and her husband. They used to go look at the different court systems in different countries and uh, kind of take, what she call it, a busman's holiday. And they would go and look at the different courts in different countries when they would travel. And they were in Ireland, and they looked at the appellate court, or the way that they do court over there, and it had three judges instead of one. And Judge Judy had the idea for hot bench. which has now been on, I believe, for 12 or 13 years. And so there's Hot Bench, and then she went over and she created uh Judy Justice for Amazon Freebie, and then she created Tribunal, which is another version of Hot Bench. Here's a little tea for you about uh Judge Judy. Okay, so Judge Judy got mad at CBS her last year that she was there, because what they did was they put the new Drew Barrymore show at the time, which, by the way, I can't really stand Drew Barrymore or Jennifer Hudson's talk show, but we'll get into that maybe in another episode or maybe into this episode. I don't know. But she, she got mad at CBS the last year that she was there, because they moved Hot Bench in another put Hot Bench in another spot, and put the newly freshman Drew Barrymore show in some top spots that Hot Bench was already in. And Judge Judy was like, "You disrespected my creation." And, I mean, she just went off, but it was great. So, but then she went over to Amazon and created Tribunal Justice, which is basically another version of Hot Bench where there's three judges. This time it includes her son, Adam Levy, who is going to have his own court show called Adam's Law, which Judge Judy is producing through her Queen Bee Productions. She has her own production company. I mean, this woman is a rock star. I love her so much. So she's created Hot Bench, she's created Tribunal Justice. She, of course, Judge Judy's her original. And then last July, she created Justice on Trial for Amazon. And what this was Judge Judy was narrating about some of the top cases in our country. There were 8 episodes where Judge Judy and her trial lawyers that she had made from like tribunal justice, and one of the former judges, Larry Backman from Hot Bench, was in this new series, Justice on Trial, because what they did was they reenacted a lot of the cases, and then Judge Judy did the exact same rulings, or if it was like a ruling from the Supreme Court, the judges that were on tribunal justice did the exact same rulings that the appellate courts or the Supreme Court did. And then, Judge Judy would say, "What do you think? Do you think America got it right?" And it was a very interesting show. If you have not watched Justice on Trial, go take a look. It's fabulous. I love it. I haven't watched it since it came out though, because I'm one of those. I watched it when it first came out, all 8 episodes, but I'm not one to go back and watch stuff. I like to see continuing new stuff. So I will be definitely watching Adam's Law, which is coming out in syndication uh this fall, 2026. So yeah, I just love it. And actually Judge Judy made history again when her streaming show, Judy Justice, was put into syndication back into regular TV. So basically, the woman's going up against her original show, Judge Judy, and then now you have Judy Justice and Tribunal Justice also going into syndication, and that was a history that was made because no other streaming show, according to the articles that I have read, made the jump from streaming back into regular TV. So she made history there. And what I love about Judge Judy is people keep asking her, Are you going to retire? Are you going to, and she's like, retire and do what? I don't play golf. I I don't do any of the other retiring old people things. I love to work. And I just love that about her. And so, we're talking about these people, Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey, Judge Judy, that have made a significant impact in the world of entertainment. And I aspire to do that. I've always wanted to be some form of an entertainer. I remember growing up as a kid, uh, my mom and my grandparents spent hundreds of dollars for the first several years of my life buying me the tape players with the microphones on the side. And I would sing as loud as I can. I can't carry a tune, but I do have perfect pitch, at least I've been told. Um, you know, so I remember having the tape players with the microphones on the side and then spending a bunch of money on blank audio tapes so that I could record myself doing whatever I want to do. So before there was YouTube or anything else, these platforms that I'm on, I was recording blank audio tapes of me just singing and acting like I was talking in front of an audience because I thought that was I knew that that's what I wanted to do. And honestly, I knew at the age of 18 that I wanted to be in some form of media. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing the podcast. That's why I do public speaking. Some people say that I should do stand-up comedy. We're gonna have to get the stand-up portion working because as of right now, I can't stand up. But like I said, I'm waiting for the manifestation of my miracle to take place. So I'm sure it won't be long. But yeah, I've just always wanted to be in media, and these three people, Judge Judy, Oprah Winfrey, Tyler Perry, they've all just had rags to riches stories. And you know what? You know what brings me satisfaction from them? I shouldn't really say satisfaction. I should say, you know what makes their stories so powerful to me is that they've never had any medical conditions. They've never had any disabilities. And yet their beginning lives, with the exception of Judge Judy, their beginning lives, Oprah and Tyler Perry's, were hell. They were hell on earth. And Oprah and Tyler Perry said, I'm not going to be a victim. I'm going to be a victor. And so many times I feel like, myself included, people with disabilities look at our lives and say, well, if we weren't disabled, we wouldn't have had all these issues. You may have not have had all the medical issues, but you know, what if I grew up and I was extraordinarily abused like Tyler Perry or Oprah? What if I grew up and my family went from house to house and we were homeless? And I didn't grow up that way. And I grew up with a lot of counseling, and I was told, Nick, you're gonna have problems inside the wheelchair, and you're gonna have problems if you're outside the wheelchair. And they're right. Now, would I have loved to have to be able bodied completely and be able to run and have some of those problems? Yeah, I think I would have. You know, I mean, no. Now, am I saying that I would have loved to been beaten and abused and still had an able body? No, I'm not saying that at all. But what I am saying is that, yeah, I would have loved to had an able body, and even though I would have had these other terrible problems, I felt I would have felt like that would have me having an able body would have shadowed some of those. I don't know. Oprah said one of the things that helped her get through her abuse is reading. Her best friend for a long time, because she didn't have any, was books. And, I remember Tyler Perry talking about, he would go hide under a porch in a crawl space and just stay there and write about adventures he was having. Or if his father was unfortunately beating him, he would just imagine as if he was running into a field and all that. And so there are different ways that they coped with it. And they still came out on top. And so what I'm saying today is, disability or not, you're going to have issues. What are you going to do with it? What have you dreamed about, but you've stopped pursuing because you either said, I'm too old, or I came from a broken home, I've been abused, I can't help anybody, I was told all my life that I'm was nothing, so I just believe that. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps like an Oprah. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps like a Tyler Perry. And if you're feeling like you're too old, take a lesson from Judge Judy. Judge Judy started a whole new career at 52 years of age. And you say, well, Nick, I feel like it's time for me to retire from what I'm doing. Well, Judge Judy says you don't retire, you just rewire. And I feel like that's what a lot of us need to do. We need to rewire our thinking about ourselves and about our value, because you may have the next business idea that'll change the world. But because you've been told for so long you'll never amount to anything, or your circumstances are never going to let you get past them, and you're never going to come out on the other side. If you continue in that thinking, the world may miss out on the next great kitchen invention, or the next great Food Network chef, or the we may miss out on a whole new restaurant experience because somebody out there listening to this today is too afraid. They know they're good at cooking, but they're too afraid because of what they've been told growing up. They're too afraid to launch out in the deep and say, hey, maybe I should start, preparing for my restaurant future. Maybe I should start by writing a cookbook. Maybe I should uh, go back and get my degree in personal finance so I could become a finance advisor, or whatever it is you want to do. Just do not let your circumstances stop you. Be like these three celebrities that I talked about today, whether you're like Judge Judy and you feel like you're in your 50s and your 60s right now and you feel like you're too old to start a new career. Look at what she's built. Judge Judy is now worth between $440 million and $480 million. And she's in her early 80s now. Oprah is in her early 70s. And like I said earlier, she is worth $2.3 billion. I don't know what Tyler Perry's net worth, but I know he's a billionaire. I didn't check him out before coming on the show today, and I should have. But Tyler Perry's built his own studio He's built his own world, and you can do that too. I can do that. I am doing it. Is it easy? No. I've got to find a way in less than 90 days how to figure out how to continue this podcast on the air. Because the funds that have been helping me, my family that has been helping me, I'm almost out of funds to continue having this podcast on the air. But you know what? I've turned every other no that I've received into a yes. And so I don't know how, but this podcast is going to continue. And I am going to build a production company. Maybe not as big as Oprah's, maybe not as big as Tyler's, but I am going to build a production company. And you will see me on your screens in the future. And I'm not going to let a disability that was put on me 36 years ago stop me from accomplishing it. And I've already told you guys, I'm ready to embrace my miracle because I believe there's more to life than this wheelchair. And for those of you who may be listening to me for the first time, you say, well, what if God doesn't heal you? I don't have time to live in what ifs. Like I said a couple weeks ago, if I lived in what ifs, I would still be in my parents' house back in an hour and 30 minutes away from me, back in another county. If I lived by what ifs, I would not be on my own right now. So I don't have time to live in what if. All I have time to do is pray and press on and make things happen. And that's what you have time to do. I hope this episode was encouraging. I hope it gave you a little bit of an insight into what I like. And I like celebrity pop culture. So I will definitely be talking about that a lot more. But I want to put this invitation out there. If you are a business owner and you have made a business, maybe you're not a millionaire, maybe you're just a thousandaire, or maybe you're just getting started, but you've started a business and you've pulled yourself up by your bootstraps, disabled or not disabled. I want to hear from you. I want to talk to entrepreneurs. I want to hear about the struggles that you've had. I want to hear about the meals that you've decided to miss because your business was more important. I want to hear those stories. So if you're an entrepreneur, disabled or not, I want to hear from you. I want you to come on the Nick Speaks podcast, and maybe we can work out a sponsorship deal to keep the podcast on the air. Throwing that uh I'm not throwing that idea completely out the window because like I said, I've got 90 days to try to figure out how to keep this podcast coming to you guys on the air because I can't do it without my producer and I need some help. And so if you're a small business or if you're a medium sized business here in the Columbus area, or if you're a national business and you would like to say, hey, Nick, we love what you're doing for people with disabilities, the disabled community, also bringing attention to non disabled issues. And we would love to sponsor you. I would love to talk to you. Please email me at nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com. If you just want to support the podcast and you can give $100 a month, please cash at me at $ Comstock90. I'll have it put up there on the screen for you um, near the end of the program today. If you can support me at $100 a month and you say, Nick, I would love to do that, then please cash at me at $Comstock90. I will not see a dime of that money, especially if you dedicate it to the podcast. I will not see a dime of that money. It'll go directly to my podcast expenses. So if you want to do that, please cash at me at $ Comstock90. If you're not comfortable cash apping me, email me at nickspeaksofficial@gmail.com and we can find out. We can work out another way if you're not comfortable with cash app. But yeah, don't be afraid to go for your dreams just because of your circumstances, whatever they may be. And I hope this episode was an encouragement for you today. And I hope you will continue to come with me on my healing journey as I wait for my manifestation, for my miracle that I believe that has already taken place. So I hope that you will continue to come with me as I still continue to interview people in the disabled community, as I still continue to advocate for the disabled community, as I interview people that don't have anything to do with disability. Uh, just come with me through it all because it's going to be fun. And I hope that you stick around. And also, hey, before I go, I am not far away at all from 1,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel. So you say, Nick, I want to help you out, but I can't give you the $100 a month. What you can do is you can hit subscribe on my YouTube channel and hit the notification bell so that you can help me get to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Also, you can, if you're listening on one of our other platforms, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio. If you're listening on any of those other platforms, please give the Nick Speaks podcast a rating. Please like us so that other people can find the Nick Speaks podcast so that we can become the number one podcast in the nation. Let's work on that. I would love to do that. So help me in the areas that I've mentioned and just stick around to see God work and see what else Nick Speaks has in store. Thanks, guys. This is the Nick Speaks podcast, a podcast where we talked about and speak up, speak out, and speak loud about the issues for the disabled community. And we talk about whatever else me, Nick Comstock, wants to. Why? Because it's the Nick Speaks podcast. See you guys next week. Thanks for being here with me today. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Nick Speaks podcast, where we speak up, speak out, and speak loud for the disabled community. If today's conversation resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a new episode. You can find Nick across all platforms by visiting his link tree in the show notes. And please leave a comment to join the conversation. Until next time, keep speaking up, keep speaking out, and keep speaking loud.